And
hello and welcome to World Sand Project. I'm Shelley Carney. We're right on time. We're on the right channel. Hooray!
And I'm your host, Toby Younis. Thanks for joining us today. Today we have a sample from Playa Santa Teresa, Puntarenas, Provence, Costa Rica. And it's a beautiful sample. It was provided to us by one of our fans, one of our viewers, I should say, on the A Gypsy's Kiss channel. And we're actually going to call him and talk about the sample today. So stay tuned. We have some giveaways, of course, and giveaways for next week as well. But it's a beautiful sample. I know I say that all the time, but this one is, okay, another beautiful sample.
Hola.
Hola. How are you doing? Well, it's been a
Super.
long time since we've seen each other. How long has it been?
Sunday.
No, Tuesday.
Last night.
Yeah. We have our member vault on Tuesday nights.
Housekeeping, you want that?
Towels.
Towels are important at the beach, especially if you're going to Playa Santa Teresa. Remember to like this video. YouTube likes it when you like our video.
So you can cover things up. In case they're coming by with the Google cam.
Or that one.
The picture you were looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to cut that image out. Make sure you like our video. YouTube likes it when you like our video. My friend here next door, Shelley Carney, likes it when you like our video. Share it with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, and the entirety of your social network so that we can,
Grow the channel.
because es muy importante to grow the channel. And then finally, if you're not already a subscriber, this would be the ideal time to click on that subscribe button.
Auga.
And then when you see the notifications bell, ring that notifications bell, and that way every time we start a live stream, you'll be immediately informed and therefore
In the know.
in the know. Okay, so like I said, this is a great sample. So I want to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the little note that Carter sent with the sample. Oh, I do want to make some points. Let me talk about some things.
Because Puntarenas.
Puntarenas is for-
Points.
Okay.
Little points.
So we have
Something like that.
2 giveaways today. And Shelley had a good idea. We're going to offer one of the giveaways, his choice of giveaways to Carter. And then we'll give the other one away. And from now on, and I'm going to figure out how to make this right for the people that so from now on, if you send us a sample and we play it on air, we'll also give you the choice of either the pendant or the picture, okay? And for those of you who had already sent samples and we played them and I didn't make that offer to you, I will make the offer to you as well. So if you sent me a sample already and we played it on air and you know who you are and you would like either a picture or a pendant. Now, because there's some that I can't make a pendant on because the grains of sand are too big to go in the pendant, and I'll tell you. But if you're interested in getting either a picture or a pendant of the sample that we put on air that you send to us, send an email to worldsandproject@gmail.com and give me a couple of weeks and I'll get that done, because I think it's only fair that you all who've sent samples in the past should have the same opportunity. And then this week's giveaway is, oh, that's interesting. I didn't do that right, did I?
I don't know. I don't know what you did.
No.
Hooray.
I put them. So this is this week's giveaway. It's either the picture or the sand pendant, depending on whatever Carter selects, okay? So if he selects the pendant, then we'll give away the picture. If he selects the picture, we'll give away the pendant. That makes a little bit of sense. So, Great Sand Dunes. So we can give away the Great Sand Dunes one because we got that from eBay. We just got a message from Carter. Let me see what he says here. Okay, he says he's picking up his dog and we'll be tied up for the next 10 or 15 minutes. Wow, it's a really smart dog that can tie him up like that, huh? Little joke. In addition to that, I want to let Brian know that we received...
Maybe he just was holding a long leash and the dog ran around him in circles.
Yeah, tied
he
him
was
up.
standing next to a tree
Brian,
or
we
a pole.
received your sample, and Deborah Teal, we received your sample. So we'll play these. We're going to start doing the samples that we receive from you folks on Wednesdays. And again, you will have the choice of either a photograph or a pendant from your sample. So you want to read that from Carter? Please.
Toby and Shelley, enclosed is a sand sample with a few small rocks, stones from Playa Santa Teresa, Costa Rica. While on vacation, Michael, MEH, emailed about other Fen topics, but asked if I was picking up a sand sample for you too. I didn't know about the World Sand Project, so shout out to Michael. Hope you both are doing well. Carter, the House Husband Diaries.
Oh, so that's his YouTube channel, the House Husband Diaries. He does cover the Fen treasure, but he also covers other topics. We'll talk about that when he calls in. So we're going to call him in just a little while after he gets his dog back home. And that'll give us enough time to give you an intro to this particular sample.
Julia says she likes the black and white.
Oh, combo.
It's the yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang. Okay, so let's switch over to window shots.
That shirt is so old, though. It's more of a charcoal now.
I happen to like this shirt.
I'm just saying it's not black
And
so
I
much
have
as it is
about 6
charcoal.
of them, so
I know.
it's hard to tell. But they're all, you're right. How long have you known me? 8 years?
2012, I met you.
Okay. So I've been wearing these shirts since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You think about how... Okay, so this is where we are going to visit. This is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is in Central America. Mexico is up here. United States, of course, up here. See, there's our little home in Bernalillo. Down through Mexico and then into Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. I've been in all of those... Let me see, is this right? Yeah, I've been in all of those countries in my career. And I wanted to retire to Costa Rica. Long story. I won't tell you what happened, why that went sideways. And then, of course, once you're through Panama, across the Panama Canal into South America. But this whole Central America area, when it's not riled up, is beautiful. Costa Rica has been really good at maintaining stability. So it's a wonderful place to visit. It's a beautiful country. It's well governed. It's got a lot of Americans, a big expat community. And you've got choices of either the Atlantic side or the Pacific side. The side we're visiting today is the Pacific side, and there's a little peninsula here, right there. You can see that the Pacific comes in here. That's the continental shelf, and we're going to be looking at Santa Teresa right here. And let's move. I think I've got one more shot of it. Yeah. So Playa. Santa Teresa Playa is a Spanish word for beach, and it's Puntarenas province, which is like a state in Costa Rica, and there is a Puntarenas on the other side of this peninsula, but this is the province. It's part of the province. Puntarenas is sandy point, basically, it translates. So I'm going to come back to these because these are the photographs that Carter sent us of the area, the beach area. And I'm going to ask him to talk about some of these. Yeah, you can do that. But we'll show you some more when we go to the maps. And let's see, do I want to go to the maps now? Let me go to the maps. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back these pictures. We'll wait for the Carter to let's go to the maps. And what I found was this is the area on Google Earth. We're in 3D. North is up. Directly north is up. And when I lifted the little yellow guy, I found, let's see if I can find it again. Oh, there it is. So there was a really cool drone shot. So that's looking back towards the land. And this guy obviously was flying a drone because you can see.
That is super tall.
Yeah. No, this is definitely some drone work. And I noticed his name is Johnny Aguedas Artavilla, and he has several shots of the beach area along here that are definitely drone shots. So good looking playa, and you can actually see that it's a very white beach. When you move further up the beach, it gets a little bit more rockier around, this area up here and then through there. But they're all nice and beautiful beaches. And of course, they're backed up by various types of living. There are hotels, but mostly, and the reason I know this is because I visited this area once, and they're mostly cabanas, and series of cabanas owned by a single property owner. So it's really a good looking beach area. Let me see if I can get another one there. Go a little bit further up the beach here where it gets a little bit rocky. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So this is up the beach towards the north, and in this case, north and west. Same guy, same drone operator getting shots. And you can see that the foliage, the jungle-like foliage, comes right up to the beach, and then the cabanas are kind of hidden in that area. But most of these are properties available for rent if you wanted to visit. So all you have to do is in your Expedia enter Playa Santa Teresa, and it'll give you some options. Beautiful, nice, beautiful Pacific blue-green ocean. It's not surfable unless it's bad weather, but like I said, it's a real pretty beach. So that's where we're going to be today, and when I get back to the photos, I think what we'll do is we'll give Carter a call and we'll come back to the photos. Let me talk a little bit about the sample, and I'll ask him to describe these. So the sample is very white, like most. I didn't see a lot, so there's a lot more.
The wave sound comes from our sound machine.
Yeah. A soundboard, as you guys like to call it. What I did was I separated the sand first. This is the material that made it through the number 10 mesh, the 2 millimeters, so it qualifies as sand. This one went to a smaller mesh, and I pulled out the actual sand. Now, one of the things that we'll see is there's not as much quartz in this, and the reason is, if you look at the mountains that are here, they're not mountains, they're hills. So that whatever mountains were there, if there were any mountains ever, they've already eroded away into sand. So you're going to see a lot more white, a lot more biogenics, and what I call fish poop. So I think it's a cuttlefish. I can't remember what it is, but it feeds on coral, and it extracts the things that are healthy to it from the coral, and then it poops out the coral. And whenever you see a real white beach, it's basically, I hate to do this to you, but it's fish poop, coral fish poop. I mean, it's gone through them. They excrete it. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Sorry, didn't mean to. But that's why we see so much white in the sample. This is what it looks like close up. There was, and as you can see, these 2 millimeter pieces are primarily, although there was a little bit of magnetite in it, they are primarily the biogenics, things made by other people. Did have some magnetite in it and some magnetic objects, very dense. So the black stuff is the magnetite. The other stuff has enough iron in it to be attracted to the magnet. So it did have a lot of it. I don't know if you remember when we did Galveston, that beach that Lisa, I can't say her last name. Slazewski sent us. There was no magnetics in it at all, but this one had quite a bit. And again, that's going to be runoff from the hills. Now you can see the occasional tiny piece of quartz here. I mean, these are all the same grain size, but a lot more. It's predominantly the biogenics, meaning shells, shellfish stuff. You do see the rocks and the magnetite in it, but there's a lot of shell stuff in there, and those are again, we call those biogenics because they were produced by an organism at some point. Right, they were actually produced by an organism. I did catch a couple foraminifera. And I think we'll see them in under the microscope. So there are quartz crystals in it. So there was some mountain activity. There's also some conglomerates up here, a little bit of olivine down here, and this weird in between color. You can see the olivine is that the actual green color. These are the feldspars that come close. The dark stuff, mafic feldspars. And there's our forams, our foraminifera. You can see because of the holes that was created by a creature that was so small that its arms extended out there, and that's how it fed. It creates that from calcium carbonate. It's a basically calcium carbonate shell. The dark one here is very likely magnetite, but again, these all here are not rocks. They're biogenics created by creatures and then broken up into pieces and washed up onto the shore. Another little view. Again, a couple of quartz crystals, but a big, broad variety of material. But I would say almost primarily the biogenics, the calcium carbonates polished up. There are some rocks. These here are rocks, but all this stuff along here and in here are calcium carbonate. And this was the bigger. You remember that piece that we saw last week that was shaped kind of like a Y, and you noticed it. It had a brownish red. That looks like the same product. Mm-hmm. It's got to come from some kind of creature that is, consistent in both locations, a Y and here. I don't know what it is. It's a small creature, of course, because this is a sand grain sized object. But again, almost any picture I took was dominated by the calcium carbonates. Okay, let's switch over to the microscope and take a look at what we got. So I'm going to turn, not my back on you, but I'm going to move back to the microscope. So let me just straighten this out just a little bit. So that's the wide angle view. And I'm going to look over here so I can find some interesting objects for you. So I thought there was something over here where I saw that near that pink looking shell, but you can see that big one right there is a piece of a shell that was a piece of some organism's home at one time because they had to produce it. It had to be produced as a result of them processing calcium and carbon. So I'll zoom in first. Hold on, we're going for that funny little ride here. Zoom. Yeah. We need a zoom sound, don't we? Zoom. So I think in this image was the broadest variety of material. So over here we see that is rock, that is magnetite. These are all shells. There's a foram, and unfortunately the light is just a little bit too bright for it. So this has the variety, but I would say I don't, except for that one right up there. So there's a small piece of quartz up there, but a big variety of the calcium carbonates, the seashell kind of stuff that's broken off and turned into sand via wave action. It just seems to dominate no matter where I looked in the image. I'm going to zoom in just a little further. And you see, once you're close like that, you can't help but recognize the natural kind of look. But there's a very nice, so there's a conglomerate, a mixture of material that did come off, a mountain or a hill at some point. But then you see this polished stuff, and you wonder how did that get? That looks like a rock that was sent through a tumbler, a rock tumbler. And there's we see some sand samples where the quartz is dominant, right? You can't help it. It's there everywhere. In this case, it just isn't there as often. Here's two pieces very close to one another, and they have some colored inclusions in them, so that would be real interesting to get them broken down. But a lot more natural material. It's not organic in the sense that but it's organic in the sense that some creature literally had to create it. Big variety of material in this. Shapes, sizes, and then you can say the occasional rock and the occasional piece of quartz. So I was trying to see if I could find a much better foram for you, because there was a couple in here that were very obviously foraminifera shells. So a little more quartzy there. And the quartz is nice because it is very translucent, very clear, as you can see. And then almost everything else surrounding it is biogenic, shell material, you know. There's a very pretty piece of quartz there. So this one made it through the second mesh, the smaller of the two meshes. I'm going to show you a sample that made it through the number 10 mesh, the 2 millimeter mesh, but didn't make it through the smaller mesh. And I've got to zoom out. This stuff is so big in terms of the lens that I've literally got to zoom out. Now, this particular sample, which is the larger, is a little bit rockier. It has the conglomerates right there, which are rocks. The yellowish green one that you see here is a rock. That's a rock, that's a rock, that's a rock. But then around it, you'll see a little more. So the bigger stuff, and the reason it didn't make it through the mesh is primarily that bigger stuff, that rock, hasn't broken down as quickly as the shell material. So you see a lot more in there, but there's some danged interesting pieces, you know, like what creature produced that, you know? It's kind of a little fishy mouth creature thing. And then anytime they have color in them like that, the reds, you know, you can find reds in nature, but in these combination with a pearlescent shell, you know, and then you look at the linear design on this and you wonder what was it that produced that very regular pattern, you know, on that piece of shell. So this is another one of those samples that I'm going to put away because these items, these grains, are big enough that I can actually, I don't know what else to call it, dissect the sample and separate these single grains of sand in order to photograph them separately, kind of like I did with the sample from Hawaii. When they're this big, they're a little bit easier to work with, and I'm not a shaky, I don't think of myself as a shaky person, but when you've got a pinpoint under a microscope and you're trying to separate this little miniature grain of sand out from the rest, even your non-shaky looks like an earthquake when you're trying to deal with this. So it is very good looking and very different, you know, some very different material in it. I didn't get as much out of the, look at this pretty conglomerate. Blues and purples and greens and so we're kind of back to where we started on this. I'm kind of certain I saw a pretty. I'm going to put the other sample back up for just a second because there was a foram in there that was pretty. Let me adjust this so it's centered. So this is the smaller of the two samples, and there was a couple of really, you know, it's harder to go back. What I should do is actually just take the picture so that I can show you the picture, but I always kind of like looking through these. To see if I can find it again. And of course, all it takes is you know, jiggling it on the glass and everything changes. You'll never get back to it, so. My advice to you is if you ever do this, if you see it, take the shot then, because you will never, ever get back to it. Let me see if we got anything here. Because they tend to be, so this one here, this pale white one, is from Shell, and you can tell the forams tend to be this more flat white when you see it under the microscope. So they're a little bit easier to find. But I'm looking for the one that I saw was very obviously a foram shell because it had all the little tiny holes in it. So first you look for the flat white stuff, and then you get closer to see if you can find the, and I'm obviously not going to do that today. But you got to admit, it's a really dynamic, really good-looking sample. Let's switch over to the polarizing microscope. I didn't get much out of it because there's so much solid. The polarizing microscope tends to like translucent or transparent material, and as you can see right here, the quartz creates the rainbow of colors that comes from being refracted back into the polarizing microscope, but the rest is real solid, so you don't get a lot out of it. The quartz stands out here because it is refractive, translucent, transparent, and refractive. The rest of the stuff just reflects back their colors, so it's not as good looking as some of the other samples where we see so much quartz. There's a pretty set of quartz there. But, you go down to these biogenics and it's just calcium carbonate and it's not transparent, so it doesn't produce much for the polarizer to work with. Let me just see if I can switch it out just a little tiny bit and get some reflectivity from it. But that's the point at which you can see those lines that were created as part of the process of making this into a shell. So let me try and reach out to Carter, and we'll go back and take a look at the pictures that he sent us and talk about those for just a second. So let me go back there, and oops, did I close that? Let me go back to where the photos are. So there's a lot of photos in the album, and this is one that he sent us. So let's give him a call.
While we're doing that, I'll say hello to everybody in the room.
Thank you.
Say we have Corey Jacobs, J.K. Pioneer, Alan K., Hooley, My Daily Agenda, Brian Gates, A.J. Rainville, let's see, Tony Rusi, K-Pro, Lisa Smith. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. All right, let's give him a call here. Let's see if I can do this without repeating his phone number.
Out loud?
Yeah.
All right. Giving Carter a call to see what story he wants to tell us about collecting this sand.
Hello?
Hey, Carter, it's Toby and Shelley on...
Hey, guys.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just got home.
Oh, good, good. Our timing was good. We were afraid that we'd miss you.
This is perfect.
We've been showing your sample, and I know you can't quite catch up because you're a little bit behind in terms of what you see on the screen. But I wanted to ask you to tell us just a little bit about this visit to Playa Santa Teresa.
Yeah, so this was my second trip to this area, and the first one was in 2005, and I was living and working in DC, and I was actually working with high school kids, and they had like spring break, and I just found out that I had a week vacation, like the next week, and so I talked to a college buddy of mine who had just graduated, who was 2 years behind me, and I said, "Hey, write 5 places in our hemisphere, and where you want to go, and I'll take you there, like as just a buddy. I need somebody to travel with me."
Right, travel buddy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna write 5 places down, and we'll just see, the top place that we have in common. In Costa Rica happened to be the top place that we had in common, and we just had a night hotel stay in San Jose, the capital, when we flew in, and a night back when we flew out, and that was it. And so we just backpacked for like a week and a half, and we ended up finding this place, and had no idea. Just met people, backpacking through, and it was beautiful. And so we stayed in this little cabana. It was Semana Santa, so it was Holy Week. And so we found this great beach with kind of the rocks. I don't know if you've been able to see that.
Well, I'm looking at one of them right now. So we've got that on the screen, and it looks like it's taken from the beach, pointed back towards the land, and there's this rock formation above the beach. And
yes, that one. Yeah. Yeah, so I was talking about the sand. The sand had a bunch of rocks as well, like round stones.
I did. So they were too big to make it through the sand thing. I took separate pictures of the ones that you sent, and I don't know if you've seen the. Did you just get into the house? So you haven't seen any of the show yet, right?
I haven't, and the dog just said, "Hey, I got to go use the restroom." Okay. So I just walked away from the computer. So I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, the white sand beach is an indication that a lot of the material is calcium. Although quartz, there's a lot less quartz in this than we expected to see. I'm going to guess that if you were to go further south and east towards that mountain area down there, where there's still high mountains as a result of it boils down to volcanic tectonic action, but the high mountains are the ones that produce the most quartz. The images, and I'm going to slide through this so you can just see, I'm going through these pictures that you took for the beach of the various rock formations that are on the beach. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to scroll forward to one of the images of the sample, and you can see what kind of material it is. I don't know whether have you ever seen any of this material under a microscope?
I haven't. So I collected a number of rocks back in 2005.
Yeah.
When my wife wanted to go to Costa Rica, so she had never been, and so we went 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she said, I was like, "What about that beach?" So we went back to it, and that's when I got an email from Michael from MEH, and he was pick up, a sand sample for Toby and Shelley, and I was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'll check it out."
Well, and, I'm glad he had the foresight to do
this
that.
Would be great.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything but a travel shampoo bottle, and I watched your video on how to collect the sand, and I was like, well, shampoo bottles are going to have to work.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job, and you packaged it very nicely. Of course, you sent the pictures. We read the note card that you sent with the sample, so it got to us very nicely packaged. And what I can tell you about this beach is that a lot of the beach material is what we refer to as biogenics. It was created by organisms, right? Live organisms, where they process carbon and calcium into shells, and that's what ends up on this beach. There's a lot of it. There is much less quartz, for example, where we'll see on other beaches that are close to the mountains, and the quartz has been processed out of the rock. But I don't know if you're at the point where you can see, and I'm just going to scroll through the sample, you can see there are pieces of quartz, but the predominant objects in the sample, there's quartz, there are rocks, and there are mostly bits of shell, basically, is the best way to describe it. So it's a very intriguing sample. It has a lot of really interesting and unique items in it. And I told the audience I actually separated this sample into 2 sections, one that fit through the sand screen, which is the 2mm screen, and then one that didn't fit through the 1mm screen. The material you're looking at here didn't fit through the first, but not through the second. And so I separate that out so that, because it always seems to be the more interesting of the two samples. And again, here you're looking at, magnetite is the dark stuff. There's a foraminifera shell in the middle, and then a lot of other calcium carbonate before. There's one little, in this particular photograph, there's one little piece of quartz right there. And there's rock, there's magnetite, which is rock, and then there's all this shell material, and then the foram. And as I was explaining to Shelley, the difference between the foram and the shell material is the shell material will come out real shiny. The foram comes out, it's white generally, but it's kind of a flat, it looks more like bone than it does the shell material. So it's a real interesting sample, and I'm glad that you sent it because it's exactly what we like to see, the big variety of things that you imagine. And of course, when you're walking on that sand beach, you can't tell, right? You can't see any of this.
Not at all.
So we're very grateful that you decided to send this. So we're starting a new kind of theme today. And what we've done in the past, before I let you go,
Screen.
let me go back to full screen. So what we decided to do today is whenever somebody sends us a sample, we offer them a choice of the photograph. And the image that you're looking on the screen right now is the photograph that I turned into the print, the dye sublimation print. Or, actually, I put it in upside down. Dang nabbit. But it's hard to tell.
I don't think it
So this is the one. This is the one. Or the sand pendant from that location. So what I'm going to do before I give one away is I'm going to offer you one or the other, and I'll ship one or the other, whichever your choice.
Oh, great. I'd love the picture. I think that would be neat.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
We'll make sure that we send that off to you this weekend. You have the picture. It's completely documented. Again, thank you for sending the sample and calling in to tell us about it, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I was going to say one other thing though. Is there were little rocks in the sample, and I tried to pick up a couple of small ones, and they're really neat, guys, because I picked up some larger ones 15 years ago, and then last week that are kind of like they're like green.
Yeah.
And when you put them on underwater, they kind of become much more vibrant.
Yeah.
Where they get wet. And so I just wanted to give you a couple of those, like send them a small ones. But if you wanted like a larger, a couple of larger rocks, I could totally send those. And I'm going to try to make like a dish or something to put on the coffee table, put some water in it, maybe a little floating candles or something, be all romantic,
They were beautiful. I did get them. I put them in a separate container because they're not sand. But I did find out that the native tribes that lived in the area from 1200 to 750 years ago used to drill holes in those small rocks, turn them into beads, make them into necklaces, and they traded to the native tribes in the interior.
No way. That's why I saw a bunch of rocks with circular holes in them.
Yeah. Well,
I was trying to figure out what in nature would make a perfectly a round,
hole
drill.
Through
it looked like a drill.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
If you picked up any of those with the holes in them, then they date back to that period as Native American artifacts.
Oh wow! That's have to go again.
Yeah. Every time you see it, you can pick up a couple more. All right, we'll get the picture off to you. Thanks for taking the call, and thanks for sending the sample. We really appreciate it.
Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we got just enough time. So let's see. So we're going to give away, wait. This one is the Great Sand Dunes. All right. So the Great Sand Dunes that we had last week, we can make a picture. Since we got that from eBay, I don't have to give away the pendant. I don't have to send the pendant to someone. So here's what we're going to do today. Go to last Wednesday's video right now, and we're going to do two drawings, one for the picture and one for the sand pendant. And the only rule that we have is if you've already won one of our prizes, then we're going to what do you call it?
Pick again.
Spin again. I like spin. That was the one that they used. Okay, so we have two giveaways today. Next week, if you make a comment under this video, you'll have the sand from Playa Santa Teresa that we viewed today, because Carter chose the image. And so from now on, when you send us a sample, we'll do the same thing. We'll give you the choice of keeping one or the other, and then we'll give away the other. So I've got to go back to our video manager. And so last Tuesday's video, okay? Last Tuesday's video, go make a comment on that video right now, because I'm going to be doing the drawing here in just a minute. Okay, so let's go back to
February, that's today.
So it would be
Last week was
20, World Sand
29th?
Project from Sand Dunes. From
The 29th.
The 29th. So the World Sand Project number 20, Great Sand Dunes National Park on January 29th. Go make a comment on it right now if you want a chance at winning this. So let's go back to the window. This is the one that we're talking about right there. Okay, so you can see World Sand Project number 20, Great Sand Dunes, dated January 29th. So there's, wow, 32 comments. Guys, you guys are getting good at this. So let's open this up and we'll get the link to it. I'm going to copy that link. And we're going to do 2 drawings, okay? One for the picture and one for the pendant. 2 separate people, and you can't have one before. We'd like this to go to other folks.
Share the love.
Share the love.
Sharing
So I'm
is
going to copy
caring.
that. I'm going to go to comment picker. This is such a great idea, this whole comment picker thing. Whoever thought of it, you know, I got to put up the advertising, but meh, I'll deal with it. YouTube random comment picker, and we'll scroll down here. We'll enter the YouTube. Okay, so here it goes. At this point, if you don't have a comment in there now, you're out of the running as of right now. So how many comments do we have? There are 16 comments. All right, so we're going to do two what you call it? Drawings. Here's the first one for the, this is the first one.
And if you already won, we'll pick again.
Yeah, for the picture. All right.
For the picture.
For the picture
The Great Sand
is
Dunes.
the Great Sand Dunes, and
Oh,
JK Pioneers won.
Has won before.
Okay, so we're going to pick another winner. This is going to be hard when we don't have that big an audience yet.
Yeah.
Robert in Colorado. That's a new
All
winner.
right.
Okay, Robert in Colorado,
Very good.
you win. Let me.
Picture for Robert. Love the dunes, he said. And he's in Colorado, so this is perfect.
Oh,
'cause the
great.
Great Sand Dunes is in Colorado.
Great. So, Robert, you win the photograph. So please send your shipping address to worldsandproject@gmail.com. So, Robert. Oh, is he in the room?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. Robert in Colorado, WSP photo.
Now we're going to give away the
The
pendant,
pendant from the same thing, okay?
with the sand from the Great Sand Dunes.
Right there. So this is what the pendant looks like. This is the sand from the Great. Let me give you full frame so you can see it. So, pendant. And this one has a little miniature tourmaline in it.
Alan Kay says, "Come and see my shiny comment built upon the sand."
Okay, so this is the pendant. Let's draw again. Let's pick another winner.
And Huli wants you to come and see her toes in the sparkly sand. Oh,
Another
Huli.
winner. Let's see.
And
So
the
out of
winner
16,
is
the winner is
Cindy Guess.
Cindy Guess.
All right.
Wow.
Very nice.
Congratulations. Give them an applause there.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so 2 new winners.
Cindy Guess.
I don't know why I wrote that. WSP pendant. So, Cindy, send your shipping address to worldsandproject@gmail.com.
We might already have Cindy's, huh?
We may already have Cindy's.
But send it anyway.
Send it anyway so that we have it.
Make sure we have the right one.
And next week, if you want to have a chance at winning the pendant for next week, which is what we'll give away because Carter selected the image, make a comment below this video, okay? And we'll do that drawing next week.
And we are giving away a prize on the softer side. In 15 minutes, we'll be starting our show. If you comment on last week's video, which was how to recognize fear and eliminate it, then you'll have a chance at a beautiful pendant on the softer side. Now, right now, I only have one comment, so that person's automatically going to win unless somebody else gets in there and makes some comments.
Go back there last Wednesday, and this is a gemstone pendant,
Yeah.
one of the ones that Tony Henman sent us. It's a beautiful light blue, sky blue topaz.
It is.
So it's a gemstone, not just sand. Let me see
So the
if I
softer
remember.
side live
that
and
goes.
last week's video about eliminating fear. Make a comment.
Did you bring the pendant? Did you bring the pendant?
I don't know what you did with it.
Oh, I think it's still out on the shelf. Carter photo 0022 and pendant to be won. Okay, I got to keep
All
track of all
right.
these giveaways.
So we have T.I. Mattis in the room. She says, yay, Cindy. So I'm sure she will let Cindy know that she's won and to make sure she sends us her address.
Got it. Okay, is that everything? Yeah, so we did giveaway, we did gifts, we got that, and you talked about the pendant. Go to last week's The Softer Side, and we'll remind you again before we start the show. Go to last week's The Softer Side, make a comment. Last Wednesday's, what's the topic?
Fear, eliminate it.
Fear eliminated.
Eliminate
Don't be
fear.
afraid
Yeah.
to make a
Recognize and
comment.
eliminate fear. That's
Don't
what
be
it is.
afraid to make a comment.
Yeah.
And you'll be entered to win
In the running.
a beautiful sky blue topaz.
That's right.
And I do mean beautiful. So, like Shelley said, there was one person that had made a comment.
Yeah.
So that we may have an
They're
automatic
gonna
winner. If it doesn't
automatically
do
win if you don't get in there.
that. Okay. And
Thank you for being here today, for all your conversation, and special thanks to Carter for sending us today's sand sample from Costa Rica. We appreciate you, Carter. Thank you so much. And for the World Sand Project, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for joining us today. We'll look forward to seeing you on Friday at 3 p.m. for the World Sand Project. We'll have a new sample for you there. I'm thinking... I'm not going to tell you because then I'll change my mind after I see it under the microscope. I'm thinking it'll be another beautiful sample. That's what I'm thinking. All right? And, of course, watch out for that fish poop.